Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our national and political landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, PDP federal lawmakers insist on President Buhari's impeachment over insecurity. Also, Kanu's lawyer tells federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu as demanded by the UN. And later on the show, Governor Wike brands Atiku a liar. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again, BKO.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for doing this with me.
Right, let's begin with the impeachment saga, where the PDP caucus in the House of Representatives has joined its Senate counterpart in issuing a 6-week ultimatum to President Muhammad Buhari to address insecurity or risk impeachment. Does it appear that insecurity has come to a head for the lawmakers?
Yes, I think by now the lawmakers are fed up. They are not impressed at all by the way or at the manner the federal government is handling this issue. The federal government or the Buhari presidency has failed spectacularly in the area of protecting Nigerians. Not many Nigerians believe that it will ever be this bad, because here was a president who was a military ruler who fought during the Civil War, who was commander or the general officer commanding 3rd Division, and once gave Chadian forces a bloody high when they crossed into Nigerian territory. So people can understand why Mr. President cannot do a better job of protecting Nigerians. We do not see any strategy in place capable of protecting us better. Things are getting worse every day. We've been told that Mr. President did a good job, especially in the Northeast. But a lot of the achievements that supporters of the government attribute to this government are actually achievements recorded by the previous administration. For example, you hear people say, oh, that in Borno State, there were no less than 17 local governments in the hands of Boko Haram, but that those 17 local governments were reclaimed after President Buhari came into office. Of course, this is a lie. Mr. President, all the local government areas held by Boko Haram were reclaimed before the 2015 election with the help of Chadian troops who came in to help Nigerian soldiers. Nigerian soldiers did a good job, commanded by of Operation Lafia Dole and the rest of them. So if you would use Google, for example, just ask the question, when did Nigerian soldiers reclaim Goza from Boko Haram? You will see that Google will give you the dates, and that date would be before the 2015 election. If you will ask the question, when did Nigerian troops reclaim Damboa from Boko Haram? You will see that Google will give you that date before the election. Ask the question again, when did Nigerian troops recover in Adamawa State? The answer you will get when you break it down to the various local governments Madagali, all of them, the answer you will get will still be before the election, the 2015 election. But some people with limited knowledge of military history, or those bent on lying through their teeth, will tell you that it happened during this administration. Of course, it's a lie. Boko Haram controlled 2 local governments in Yobe State. Those 2 local governments were reclaimed before the election. I want to believe that Mr. President underrated this scale of insecurity in our country. And this thing is now biting back seriously. We allowed Boko Haram to move into the northeast, into the northwest and north central. We continue to deceive ourselves that they were limited to the northeast. But today, nobody can deny that they spread their tentacles to different parts of our country. In fact, we are already, government officials are now blaming them for the attack in Owo. So given the fact that the National Assembly had come up with various resolutions that the executive had done nothing about, I'm not surprised that they put themselves inside the room, locked the door, and they told themselves the truth that it makes sense now to give the president an ultimatum. What they didn't say that the PDP had now decided to do was to say, okay, that ultimatum will be attached to an impeachment notice. Of course, they didn't take that decision. What they said was, okay, after the ultimatum, we'll then see what decision to take next. But the PDP caucus in the Senate moved ahead to say, okay, after the 6 weeks, an impeachment process has to follow. This was not the decision of the entire Senate, although the Senate agreed that the president should be given 6 weeks within which to fix the problem of insecurity. But now, with elections approaching and with the PDP bent on showing Nigerians or telling Nigerians that it is better than the APC, that voting for it will be a better thing to do for Nigerians, you can see now that they've tied this to an impeachment threat. But what we want to see is let the president respond to this impeachment threat, even if he thinks that it amounts to nothing. Let him respond to this impeachment threat by improving in the area of protecting our people. He's got to do that. For now, our people are not being protected. There's hardly any part of Nigeria that is safe. We will keep talking about it, no matter how much people abuse us. We'll keep talking about it. The president ought to protect our people better. Even in his states, no less than 10 local governments are not safe, even in his home state. In his home state of Katsina, many district heads have left their villages and towns and fled to the state capital. This is the truth. So the president has to protect us better because Nigerians voted for him. They trusted him as a retired soldier that he will be able to give us the right level of security. But right now, Nigerians are scared wherever they are. They can't travel around the country and feel the beauty of our country just the way they want because they are not sure that they won't be kidnapped. And when you are kidnapped, it is not little money that these good-for-nothing people ask for. We've seen in the case of the train attack victims, they are being asked to pay 100 million per head. And if you do not pay it, they will keep you with them for as long as they can. So people are coming together, raising money for people who are in captivity. Some, in fact, a particular person was said to have paid up to 200 million. So as we speak, these guys have raked in no less than 1.8 billion naira from those kidnapped in that train. I mean, it's just terrible. I'm not surprised that the Senate has gone this far. And I'm not surprised that the House of Reps caucus of the PDP have decided to back their own, their colleagues in the Senate. Because no one is safe. Everybody is terrified. Everybody is worried. Even you, that you are speaking to me, you are worried. So this is the thing. We just hope that an improvement will happen instead of the usual security meetings that amount to nothing at the end of the day.
Right. So to impeach a president in Nigeria requires an arduous task. There are about not different stages as provided by the Constitution. So as things stand now, do you think the aggrieved lawmakers have the numbers to impeach the #1 citizen? And I will link it to Prince's question, who said, I want to ask you, Jide, if it's possible to impeach President Buhari without the support of the Senate President, Lawan.
No, they don't need the Senate President's support to impeach the president. What they need is two-thirds majority of the members of the Senate. If they have two-thirds majority, then even the Senate President could be sacrificed to achieve the purpose of impeaching the president. No Nigerian president has ever been impeached. To even impeach a governor is extremely difficult, because the hurdles that you must scale through are tremendous. For example, even after you found him guilty, the Chief Justice of Nigeria has to set up a panel. And if that panel does not find him guilty, then you can't remove him. This was what happened in Nasarawa State. This was what happened in Nasarawa State when the then governor, Al-Makura, he didn't control the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly was overwhelmingly PDP. So they decided to commence, but they didn't have the buy-in of the Chief Judge of the State. So it collapsed at the level of the Chief Judge because the Chief Judge didn't see anything that the governor had done wrong. And of course, the judge will set up his own panel. So if the panel says that the governor or the president had done nothing, that is where it ends. So the way it's designed, the judicial arm of government must support the impeachment. The way it's designed, the judicial arm of government will need to look at the allegations against the president.
Right.
So if the judicial arm does not see any value, any merit in the case against the president or the governor, as the case may be, that is where it ends. And we have parallels.
Right.
Remember, even that is why Fayose's impeachment is not known to law. Because before impeaching him, the House of Assembly back in 2006 decided to suspend the Chief Judge, knowing that the Chief Judge was close to Fayose and was not likely to support them. So they decided to suspend the Chief Judge, but they did not have the power to suspend the Chief Judge.
Right, BK.
It is the judiciary that can suspend any member of the judiciary. So it's the NJC that had the power to suspend the Chief Judge. So because they suspended the Chief Judge and brought in their own acting Chief Judge, who then sanctioned Fayose's impeachment, that impeachment was voided by the Supreme Court. So as far as the law is concerned, Fayose was never impeached, and that was why he was able to come back and contest, because the law would not have permitted him to contest within 10 years of the so-called impeachment. So Fayose, as far as the law was concerned, was never impeached, because you don't put something on nothing. The art of firing a chief judge to bring in another chief judge who would then support them was illegal, and so that illegality did not survive at the level of the Supreme Court.
Right, BK. That makes sense. Let's quickly change tack by looking at our second topic for discussion today. The special counsel to Nnamdi Kanu has urged the Nigerian government to honor the call by the United Nations to release Kanu, warning that the Nigerian government may trigger a nasty diplomatic conflict if it fails to release him. But a coalition of 52 northern groups has also called for immediate withdrawal of this demand by the United Nations. What kind of fruits do you think this can bear?
Well, the way it is now, there are so many groups interested in this matter. It is not just IPOB or people of the East alone that are interested in this matter. It's not just the federal government. So as you can see, this is part of piling pressure. This is part of giving support to the government so that the government can believe that it has not done anything wrong by keeping Kanu in detention, by allowing his case to go on. So you can see all the fighting words being used by both the CNG, Coalition of Northern Groups, as well as IPOB spokesman, Emma Powerful. They've been abusing one another over this matter, using unprintable names. As far as the Coalition of Northern Groups is concerned, it was wrong of the UN to have directed the federal government to release Kanu, bearing in mind, in their words, some of the negative things that Kanu had done against his country using hypo. So they are saying that it appeared that the UN had taken side. In fact, they went to the point of even saying that the UN was fond of siding with a particular part of our country. I don't know where they got that from. The UN cannot be seen to be supporting a particular ethnic group in our country or supporting a geopolitical zone or certain nationalities in our country. We need to run our country better. We need to do our best to please all the federated units in our country. When the UN intervenes in matters concerning our country, it suggests that there are certain things that we are not doing right. That is my problem with our leaders and some of the people who purport to speak for even these leaders. I'm not surprised that the Northern Group has risen in support of the federal government and urging the UN to even withdraw the directive that it issued to the Nigerian government. I think that if the UN had seen IPOB strictly as a terrorist group and viewed some of the terrible things happening, especially in the enforcement of sit-at-home in the Southeast, as the works of IPOB, I do not believe that it will have taken some of the steps that it took, But even at that, when you look at the manner, I think this whole thing has to do with the manner in which Kanu was forcibly brought to Nigeria from Kenya. And that is the bone of contention for the UN. I don't think the UN was bothered so much about some of the negative things attributed to Kanu, including some broadcasts that he had made, which the Northern Group says it was sure that if he was doing that to some countries in the West, that they will have taken serious action. I think the action of the UN has to be understood. The UN was concerned about the manner Kanu was brought to Nigeria for trial. That is their main concern. And the way it was brought to Nigeria for trial contravenes international conventions. If you must have someone extradited, that person has to go through an extradition trial in that country. Remember that Burundi Kashamu was going through an extradition trial in Nigeria before he died. You know, that is what the law says. Put him through an extradition trial, and once the judge okays that person's extradition, then he will be sent to the country that made that request, where he would then undergo street trial, where he would then be subjected to the law. He will made to face the law. But by seizing someone from an hotel room, violating what the UN frowns at, and the federal government stands indicted in doing that. How, for example, would anyone feel if the Americans, having established a case against Abba Kyari, decided to use military might to storm Nigeria like paratroopers and seize Abba Kyari and take him away? Because it is not beyond the powers of America to do that. The American military has the power to do that, you know. But how would we feel if someone came into our country and seized a Nigerian that the Americans had a case against, and then took him to America to face trial? There has to be an extradition trial. That extradition trial didn't happen. And because of that, the UN, the group, is not happy with the federal government and the Kenyan government. And that's why it came up with that indictment. So I think it's that is what the government must address. That's to explain deeply that Kanu was involved in terrorism was not really accepted by the to Nigeria. Nigeria responded. Right. So the Kenyans didn't respond. So they didn't really accept our explanations, and that was why they came up with the indictment. It took some time for them to study that matter and come up with an indictment. So we stand indicted on the manner in which we carried out the extradition. It didn't follow international law, international convention. No one can deny that. No one can deny that. And I'm saying that if the Americans will come to our country to storm the police headquarters, for example, and take away Abba Kyari at that time, when they announced that they had a prima facie case against him for advanced fee fraud or conniving with a popular fraudster, I'm not sure we'll be happy.
Right.
They are working with our government, they complain to our government, and efforts were being made, you know, within the ambit of the law. So once you take extra legal means to secure the extradition of an individual, of course you run against international law. No matter how convincing your argument will seem, you run against international law, and that is why they decided to indict us.
Right. Biko, let's move on to our next topic. I think there's a question for the Nnamdi Kanu, but then if we're able to take it, we will. But we're racing against time. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has finally broken his silence and attacked his party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, of lying against him. He also described some of the party's chieftains as attack dogs of Atiku. What does this latest development mean for the PDP?
Well, Atiku should know that he has a big job to do to get Wike on his side. The pain of defeat is bad enough for anybody, including Wike. Now, after you defeated him in the presidential primaries, it looked like Wike could get the vice presidential ticket. But Atiku didn't think that Wike was the right person to work with him. Wike's hunger was not just that he felt betrayed at the convention ground by people like Governor Tambua, but he felt that the comments that Atiku made on the day that he presented Governor Efeanyi Okowa as his running mate were directed at him, were disrespectful, and meant to subject him to ridicule before people. So that had been paining him for some time. So he's saying now that no effort was made by Atiku to directly reach out to him. Yes, he came to his house after the primaries, but that in terms of personal interface and reaching out directly to him as a critical stakeholder, he's saying that interface had not happened, that all of what they had been saying were lies. Yes, politicians are practiced liars. They are so good at lying just to gain advantage. So I want to believe that Atiku had not reached out enough to Wike. And Wike is like a wounded lion at this stage. He has the resources at his disposal to cause problems for Atiku in the presidential election. Yes, Wike does not like the APC, but that does not mean that he cannot work for the APC. And if he works for the APC with the resources at his disposal and the sitting governor of, in my view, the richest state in Nigeria, then Atiku will really have problems on his hands, because he needs to win the South-South. As we can see, the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, is doing well in the South and the Southeast. These were traditionally seen as the strongholds of the PDP. PDP controls most of those states. Now, with Obi making inroads into the South-South, the worst that can happen to lose Wike's support. So he has to do his best, reach out to him, talk to him through the governors that are close to him, and not
Mikhail, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I guess we lost you momentarily. I'm trying to see if we can take one or two questions because we are out of time.
Let's do it
The
quick.
What did you say?
I said let's.
Okay, we should do quick. I guess that's what you said. Okay, Prince Jumong said, thank you, Jide. Well, I want to ask if, okay, now, I think we took that question a little earlier. So someone is trying to find out whether UN has the power to sanction Nigerian government if they never listen to their demand, or they never accede to their demand.
Well, if you were signatory to certain UN conventions, the UN expects you to honor those conventions. In this case, the Nigerian government is a signatory to that charter. So if they take any action that appears to be against the charter, then the UN will take a dim view of it. It's not as if the UN will simply come here and impose a punishment. If there are so many violations of UN Charter and all that, it can lead to sanctions. It can lead to some level of isolation, but it's not as if they will come here and then say we are imposing a punishment on Nigeria. But the worst that we can do to ourselves is to be seen as a pariah nation, a nation that does not respect international conventions, international law. It doesn't all go well at all. And we've seen in the past leaders even brought to justice for taking actions that didn't go down well with the UN. Some president, world leaders have been put on trial and all that, for genocide, for the killing of their own people. So these things happen, but we are not expecting punishment in the real sense of the word, but I think there are other ways that the UN can get its message across. And I know the Nigerian officials too will be working on how to be on the good side of the UN on this matter. The deed has been done, and I don't think the current government will agree to release Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. Even if it's going to be released, even if dialogue is employed in the final analysis, it has to come with some conditions. Given the extent that they have gone at this time, I don't think anybody would agree to Kanu's release. I don't think the federal government will agree to his release without a set of conditions.
Right. Okay, Prince Jumong says, I think Atiku is making a mistake by provoking Wike. So I want to know what you, Jide, have to say about the presidential candidate lying to Nigerians even before the elections. But I'm afraid there is no time. There might be no time to do that. But I just want to bring to our audience knowledge or to notice.
It's not unusual for politicians to lie. Not unusual for politicians to lie. They lie a lot. And Atiku won't be the last person to lie. Politicians are fond of lying, especially in our country. But we have to try our best to understand them and be able to take the right decision about who should be our president. And I know that that's what majority of Nigerians want. We want a better Nigeria, but we need to examine these presidential candidates very well and take the best decision, that will lead to peace and progress of our country.
Well, some will say it's a white lie anyway. But then, Biko, the very last edition of our program, Issues with Jide, we did well over 200,000 views. That's unprecedented. We're breaking the record every edition. What do you have to? What say you to this, Biko? Quickly.
I'm just grateful to our viewers for making this program stronger and stronger. The more they watch us, the greater my confidence and the greater the confidence of the backroom boys and girls. So we'll continue to give the best. We'll continue to find the right topics that our people would enjoy listening to our analysis about. And I have to say that we love our country.
Absolutely.
And it is the best that we want for our country. We are one people focused on the growth and development of our country. Yeah. We have no special interest in politician, but we want progress from our country, for our country.
Well, thank you very much.
So thank you for watching us.
For today's
we are really grateful.
Right. Thank you. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses, as always. We really appreciate. And thanks to you too, our audience, for always joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News, and click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. On behalf of Issues with Jide's team, we say I'm Ibrahim Sheta, and see you again next edition. Bye for now.